Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show, where we talk all things vegan. If you're not already vegan, no worries, we'll get you there. If you are, tune in for health advice, information on climate change, and all the damage done by our most destructive industry, animal agriculture. We'll also talk cooking, theater, film, and culture. My 2 reasons for starting this podcast: to entertain, to inform, and to make people vegan. Oh, that's 3. Shit. Hello and welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show. You could find us across all your favorite podcast platforms. You could find us on YouTube. You could find us at realmeneatplants.com. My special guest today is my old friend, Dr. Gustavo Tolosa. Now, when I say doctor, he's not a medical doctor. He is a doctor in the musical arts from the Eastman School of Music in lovely Rochester, New York. Gustavo is a concert pianist who has performed all over the world. He also has his own YouTube channel. He has a website and blog called plantamus.com. That's spelled plantemus, plantemus.com. He has a 7-day detox and reset program. You could also find him on Facebook under the name, he keeps changing his name, Dr. spelled out Doctor, Dr. Starch, where he has an online book club. Gustavo, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Glenn. It's a pleasure to be here with you. We've done a lot of, webinars together, but I'm always interviewing you. So thank you for interviewing me.
This time I get to find out who the heck you are.
That's right. Yes.
So I got to tell you the headline I saw this morning when I opened the internet. Antarctica is missing an Argentina-size amount of sea ice. That was the headline. Antarctica is missing an Argentina-size amount of sea ice. You are in Argentina right now. The question is, have you seen it?
I have been to Ushuaia, which is the most southern city in the world. I mean, then after that, there's nothing else. I mean, it's the Antarctica. So I've been close to it. And it is amazing the amount of ice. It's also amazing the kind of winter, supposedly, that we're having here, because it's usually cold, very cold.
And now?
No, it's kind of, it's spring. The trees or the plants are confused. They're starting to, bloom, and we're supposedly in the middle of winter.
Wow. Now, have you seen the missing ice?
I haven't, because it's missing.
Oh, I see. Okay. So when you go out your front door, I guess you could see Antarctica, right?
No.
No.
I'm in the middle of Argentina. Is this long cone that goes to Antarctica, and this long cone, I'm in the middle there in a province called Cordova, up in the mountains, actually.
But some people take a boat from the southern tip of South America, right, and go to Antarctica in a couple of days, right?
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful over there and cold.
So have you had any snow this winter?
No snow.
No snow. Do you usually have snow in the winter?
There's usually snow, but maybe not much, 2 times perhaps. But sometimes it's come towards the end of the winter. So we still have hope that we'll have 1 or 2 snow.
And is Argentina in a drought now?
Well, Argentina, I mean, it's this huge country. There's always a drought going on somewhere. I mean, I haven't heard of any major ones, and where I'm at, no. So I don't think so.
All right, so let's talk about your journey. As a concert musician, pianist, you came to the United States eventually and started teaching in Texas, founded a school of music. But at some point you started putting on weight. How did that happen?
That happened the thing is, like many people who struggle with weight, it's the yo-yo kind of thing. Goes up and down, up and down. You try this diet, you try that diet, you exercise more, you exercise less. I mean, all those things. So, but when I first arrived to the United States in 1987, I didn't know much. I mean, I knew the language, and I was a student at a university at that point, and I was staying with a host family who were just lovely. They were like my parents, my second parents. And one of the things that I found very quickly were these cans that the wife would buy, and she had in the refrigerator, and she just would hit the can on the counter, and the can would kind of explode a little, and I would open, and then these rolls, like like bread rolls, would come out, and she would put them in a pan in the oven, and those were, to me, coming from Argentina, where it's basically a bread country. There are bakery in every corner, sometimes two bakeries in one block. So to me, that was amazing that you didn't have to go to the bakery, that you opened a can and there were biscuits. And not only that, that they were amazingly delicious, especially if on top of that you put butter or jam and other things. So I started eating these magic bread that came in a can. And I started gaining weight. And then I was introduced to all the Southern food, all the barbecue and fried this and fried that, everything, and they can find, they fry it. And I started gaining weight. And because my profession requires a lot of sitting, sometimes 5-6 hours sitting at the piano, practicing, rehearsing, going to a concert, being at the computer way more than 6 hours, probably more, a lot more. So it's a sedentary, unless you make the effort to exercise. So I gained weight and gained and gained.
And eventually you got to the point of being what, about 70 pounds overweight?
I did, but it was very, very gradual. I mean, it was over a period of like 20 years, because I gained weight, then I would lose it, then I would gain. I could say, I mean, I haven't been diagnosed or gone to a psychologist for them to tell me that this is the case. But my eating many times is directly linked to emotions, emotional eating, like they say. Some psychologists don't believe in emotional eating, some do. But the truth is that when I go through periods of very difficult times, and I did in 2004, just everything seems to fall apart and everything is going the wrong way. And at that point, because other times it would go up and down, up and down, up and down. But at that point, 2004, it started, just the trend was always up and up and
so
up.
When you hit difficult emotional times, you head right for the bread cans. Is that what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually bread, pasta, but at that time I wasn't plant-based, so
Right.
it wasn't I mean, it wasn't really the bread or the pasta. All those things are processed and they
Mhm.
make people gain weight. But it was what went with that mostly. I was also eating baked potatoes, but the baked potato had cheese and sour cream and butter and meat. So it's all the stuff that went with them, and the fried food. I mean, all that, and the cookies and cakes. I mean, it's
Right.
yeah.
And you grew up in Argentina, which is a big beef eating country. So I imagine there was a lot of beef that was always part of your diet, right?
There wasn't a lot of beef when I was growing up. In my family had pretty good. I grew up with my grandmother who was from Spain, and in my house there was always there usually was a lot of vegetables and fruits and rice and potatoes. So yeah, there was meat and there was dairy. But not in the amounts that other Argentinians eat meat.
I see.
So
So,
yeah,
so when you came to the States, did you start having more fast food and more
yeah,
meat?
yeah. That was the other thing that was another factor besides the magic bread cans was the novelty of driving and having this window that opens and they give you food. The drive-through windows, and of course, I mean, you have to accept it's convenient, it's cheap. Some of the food tastes good, and so yeah, that was part of it too. The fast food.
Now, when you're a concert pianist and you get to the point of being 70 pounds overweight, does that make it difficult?
It made it difficult. It made it difficult in my professional life, in my self-esteem life. I mean, in many ways, because by the time that I had reached the point from 2004, by the time it was 2010, 11, I had already. So it only took 5 or 6 years to gain those. You know how easy it is to gain weight. So I had already gained those 70, 75 pounds. And yes, I started feeling very poorly. I couldn't breathe well. I had to sleep sitting up because of the acid reflux. I couldn't really go up as much I guess one flight of stairs, and I just couldn't breathe. And playing the piano is very taxing when you play difficult pieces. It's like running a marathon, really, some of these pieces. And it was hard. It was also hard the stomach would get in the way of the arms and hands, and just knowing that I wasn't looking good, never wanting to look at myself in the mirror, finding, being difficult, finding clothes, always having to go to the extra large section. It was really
What
negative.
was the highest weight you hit?
I believe it was 273,
Okay.
5, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I also didn't want to weigh. I hadn't weighed in a long time. So when I finally found, we could talk about this later, the McDougall program, and I went there, that was a shock to me because I hadn't weighed in a long time. And the first day you have to weigh. And I think it was 275, 273, something like that.
Okay. Now, tell us about how you discovered the solution to this problem.
The solution, the discovering process was very painful because well, first of all, I was feeling, I knew within myself that I was going to die soon. In my father's side of the family, there is a lot of negative genetics, I guess, a lot of diabetes and a lot of heart disease and other things. So my father had a quadruple bypass 1999 and died in a few months. So I didn't, I felt that my life was going to be short and I wanted to live long. I had at that, I mean, I still do, but they were younger, 3 children, and I had a career that I wanted. I had things that I wanted to do, and I still do. And I saw that that was not going to be possible. So it was painful because I actually tried. I really being trained in research, because to get a PhD, you have to do a good amount of research and question everything that you read or you're told, find the truth, behind that. I really did research. I read, I went to things, I tried, and nothing would work. And that was the frustrating thing. And so I knew that there was something missing and I couldn't figure it out, and it would drive me crazy. And I had arrived almost to the point, I think, by the year 2012, that I kind of gave up. I knew that that's how I was going to end up. And but it was at about that time, well, I have to look it up. I don't know if it was 2010 or something, that this movie came out that a lot of people are familiar with, Forks Over Knives.
Forks Over Knives, one of the classic plant-based documentaries.
I can't remember now what year, but I think it was.
I think it was 2012.
Well, 11 or something like that. Anyway, so I am addicted to movie theaters. Okay, I don't watch movies at home or TV. I don't even have a TV. But you give me a movie theater and I can be there every day of the week, all day. So I in Dallas, where I was living at the time, one day, my partner and I went out for a walk, as we usually did, in a nice area in Dallas called West Village. And there was a nice movie theater there that we went often. And this time we were walking, and I said, "Oh, look, why don't we go see a movie?" But everything had already started, and but there was this one that was starting like in 5 minutes, and the title didn't tell me anything, Forks Over Knives. But I thought, well, as long as I can go to a movie, let's just go see it. So we went to see him, and as the movie developed, I got very emotional, because I was seeing in front of me developing this, the answer to this question that had been, bothering me for years. And also, so I saw hope there for the first time ever. And at the same time, I didn't know how to do this, and it was like, okay, now I've seen the solution, but I don't know how to do it, because I saw doctors there and some establishments where people could go to, and I didn't know where they were. So there started my next research level of finding, for some reason, Dr. McDougall, it kind of stayed in my mind. He made an impact, even though Dr. Esselstyn was there and many others. So I started looking him up, and it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy to find much about, because it was a new movie. But eventually I found that he had a center in Santa Rosa, California, a place where you would go basically and be in this controlled environment for 10 days, where you would learn about nutrition and eating and some of the medicine even, and psychology. And I wanted to do it. But the next problem came up, which was I didn't have money. that was also a time in my life when a lot of things didn't go right with a divorce and other things, and I just couldn't do it. And my mother was also desperate for me, for my health. We're both concert pianists, and we have a close bond because music has kept us together for pretty much all our lives. And she really cared. Well, I guess, I mean, any parent would care about their children. But even though I wasn't a child anymore, but she was truly worried about my health. So I told her about this, and so I started saving money a little bit here and there, and eventually I saved enough for the deposit fee, and I committed, not really knowing how I was going to get the rest of it. But a number of things happened, and I was able to finally attend. I did have to wait, and the wait was painful, but I waited, and then by August of 2013, I was in Santa Rosa, California, like a child who had just arrived at Disneyland for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it was only a few years later that Santa Rosa had a terrible fire and a lot of things burned down,
including Dr. McDougall's home, and
yeah,
but they almost.
So you made it there in time, 2013. And tell us what you learned in Santa Rosa at the McDougall program. Was this a week-long program?
It was 10 days.
10 days.
Of absolutely intense education and activities. Like I didn't really know what I was getting into. I knew I was going to learn something, but I didn't know much. But for the pictures of this beautiful resort and the area, I thought, well, this is going to be like a mini vacation. There was no vacation. It was, I mean, I loved it. I loved every second of it, but because I love learning and I love being in classes and workshops. But it was one class and one workshop after another from early in the morning, like 8 until many times until 7 p.m. And so it was very busy, and they gave you one of the interesting things to me was that there was this lunch buffet and breakfast buffet and dinner, but everything was all you can eat buffet. And to me, that was kind of like, what? I mean, I can eat anything here and as much. Nobody's gonna control how much or how many times I serve. And there were like 20 different dishes to try. And I started finally getting the answer, plus all the lectures and the book that we were reading, the Start Solution. Finally, I figured out that oil had a lot to do with this, because I had tried vegan in my way with all the processed foods and all the stuff full of oil and fake cheeses and fake meats. And this was all whole food. And that's what I always highlight to people that I talk to, the word WHOLE, whole food and plant-based. And even though oil comes from a plant, but it's not whole. There's nothing whole about it. So I really, when I was done with the program, the empowerment, the feeling of empowerment was just something that I had never felt before. Something that I didn't think I was ever going to feel. Really knowing 100% what to do, number one, and how to do it. Because you can know what to do, but if they don't tell you how to do it or show you, then so both of those things are important. You can also know how to do things, like how to cook, but if you don't know what. So finally, I knew everything. That was one of the amazing things of the program, that you left the program with no questions that were not answered. Everything all the questions I had were answered. I knew what to do. I know how to do it. That's what I do in my 7-day program, by the way. And so when I got home, it was like, well, I had the stack of recipes that they gave you after the program was done. Everything that you ate during those 10 days, you had it with you. And I said to both my mother and my partner at that time, this is what I'm going to cook every single meal here because I want to try it myself. I want to make them, and I want to mark the ones that I love, the ones that are good, and the ones that I really don't care about. And I did that, and we ate that way, all of us, and all of us started losing weight in a way that I thought that it was impossible or it wasn't real. It was, a lie. When every week eating as much as I wanted, I was dropping 6, 7, 8 pounds in 1 week. When that took me like months to do before, I couldn't, I even went and bought a new scale because I thought it was broken. And so, yeah, it was just amazing.
We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back and learn more about Gustavo's transformation.
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I Want Tofu Tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
Okay, we're back with Gustavo Tolosa. So you did the McDougall program. You find yourself losing weight while you're eating as much as you want of plant-based foods. How long did the weight loss go on? Tell us about the results.
Well, the amazing thing with the starch solution, which also I'm certified by the McDougall Health and Medical Center to coach, because I was so amazed at this that I wanted to take the certification course, which wasn't easy, but it was very, also it just gave me another insight. So I did that as I was losing weight. The thing about the starch solution is that it allows a person that has a lot of weight to lose, like I did, to continue eating a lot of the things that they like to eat, like bread and pasta and, even some cookies or cakes.
But not bread from cans, right? That's not on the McDougall program.
No. So, but it doesn't, because for a lot of people, when you come from eating such a such a poor diet, what we call the standard American diet, if you tell them that they can eat just about everything that they eat, that can turn them off, and you want them to come in and to start trying what a whole food plant-based diet is. So I was losing weight even though I was eating bread. Yeah, it was whole wheat bread. It wasn't the cheap, the white bread. I was eating some whole wheat pasta, and I was eating chocolate pudding. Not every day, once in a month or so. But I knew that I could eat those things if I wanted to. So because I had so much weight to lose, I would lose weight. Most of what I ate was the whole food, the plant-based. So I was losing an average of 8. Well, at the beginning it was a lot, but in about 5 months I had lost 50 pounds, about 10 pounds a month. And so at that point, I started noticing that the weight loss was continuing, but it was slowing down. And it was fine. I mean, I knew that I couldn't keep losing that much weight, that
Right.
I would disappear. Yeah.
It's only
But-
natural that it slows down over time.
Natural. Yeah, the body starts to arrive to that equilibrium point, like Dr. Lyle says, or plateau, whatever you want to call it. And so I was learning and learning, and I continued reading, and I figured out that yes, I think I need to start giving up. And I was in touch with Dr. McDougall also, because we had started our weekly webinars by that time. That was another story that it was totally unprepared. I mean, it wasn't planned or anything like that, but I was very, very, very lucky to be able to weekly do webinars with Dr. McDougall. So I would sometimes ask him, and yeah, I figured out that I had to, if I wanted to continue losing weight, I needed to start eliminating or reducing some of these things. And by this time, I was feeling better about taking a walk, doing some kind of light exercise. So I did that. But I started restricting the amount of bread and sweets and pasta and heavier caloric foods like avocado or some dark chocolates, things like that. Not all at once, but a little bit at a time. And so it showed that, yes, that giving up some of those or restricting some of those was helping me lose more weight. And I did. I lost more, and up until I lost 70. It fluctuates. I can't say that I lost. It's between 70 and 75 because my weight fluctuates like that. So yeah, and that's how.
And how did that affect your self-esteem and your happiness?
Oh, well, that was a day and night. I also was naive about this. I did not think, I didn't believe when I used to hear people talk about their self-esteem and the body and the body weight, I thought, oh, that's baloney. I mean, but no, I experienced it. I felt more secure about myself. I felt, my self-esteem as a whole was, finally, I had never used the bathroom mirror. It was there, but I never even acknowledged it. I could look at myself in the mirror. I could feel good going shopping. I used to hate going clothes shopping, and I would love to go and try things. So it was a very, I felt happier, definitely, much like, when you realize that something so silly as food, as a thing is controlling you, and now you can control it. It's empowering and
Yeah.
makes.
And did it affect your performance of music?
Well, yes, definitely. I was able to. I mean, I never gave up before. It was just hard to do because it was many times uncomfortable. But I also noticed that my attention span or my focus was better. So it made a difference in every area of my life, really.
And when people would come up to you and notice the change, what were those conversations like when you would tell them what you did to lose weight.
Oh, well, yes. At the beginning, yes, of course. I lived in this building that I lived in the 8th floor, so I usually took the elevator. Sometimes I used the stairs, but so it was the elevator, the classic elevator talk. You're there for a minute or so, and everybody knew me, almost everybody, and hey, what are you doing? That's the first. And I knew that was kind of a superficial question because it was, I had 1 minute to say, and so
Right.
I
Did you
figured
ever turn anybody vegan in the elevator?
no.
No.
People
Maybe if
don't
you
want,
had lived in a taller building.
yeah,
it would
I
have
needed
been
like
possible.
200. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't want to. People don't, unless you're ready. The timing has to be perfect. I was ready at that time, but you had showed me that movie maybe 20 years earlier. I would not paid attention. So the timing has to be perfect there, and the person has to be ready to learn. And so I figured that out also pretty quickly because I did have quite a few slaps in my face trying to convert people. And, you get disappointed because you're excited, you have lost this weight, you feel great, you want to convert the world. And many people don't give anything, they don't care. And so I soon learned that I would only talk to people that showed a genuine interest, like they really wanted
Right.
to. So I would say, I just changed the way I'm eating. And so, of course, and what are you eating? Well, I would say it's just mostly plants and things that are not processed, I said.
Right.
And so by that time, if they wanted more, I would say, well, if you want to learn more, just call me or send me a text or whatever, and we can get together. And I did a few workshops in my apartment in that building, and where I prepared like a lot of food, and people came and tried it, and I talked to them, but I guess out of all of that, I think maybe 2 people wanted to try. So,
when I originally became vegetarian and then vegan, I wasn't interested in converting other people. I didn't care what other people ate. But today I read that Antarctica is missing an Argentina-size amount of sea ice. And we know that one of the leading reasons for that is 1.5 billion cows around the world belching methane. And now it is important what other people eat. And so now, it's my life's work to try to turn people vegan. And there's a carnivore born every minute, so I'm not keeping up. But we have to do what we can.
We must. This news that you tell me is I haven't heard it yet. Well, I try to stay away from news, which probably I don't know if it's that good or not, but so I haven't heard that news, but it is alarming because Argentina, it's a massive, massive country. So I cannot imagine that a size of Argentina is missing in ice. I can't imagine that.
It's missing. So let us know if you see it at any point.
Okay, it might just float around.
Yeah,
here.
if you see a lot of ice floating around outside, it'll be about the size of Argentina.
Wow.
So you won't be able to miss it.
No, I'm not going to miss it.
Are there a lot of climate deniers in Argentina, or do most people accept the reality of human-caused climate change?
No, it's interesting how it's not denied, but it's not attributed to
animal agriculture. It's attributed only to the burning of fossil fuels.
Right.
Yeah. And the problem with that thinking is that it ignores the reality that animal agriculture takes up so much of the planet that if we didn't have animal agriculture, we could reforest so much of the planet and we could save the oceans from industrial fishing. And all that sequesters carbon dioxide. We could bring it out of the atmosphere. When you don't look at both sides of the ledger, you never get to the truth.
Yeah, yeah, Glenn, I've learned that you touch people's foods. It's worse than touching politics or religion. You touch, I mean, you really, it's amazing. I have this image of that dog that has in his or her teeth a bone that they're eating, and you try to grab it and they growl and they're almost gonna bite off your arm. That's how I see people. If you happen to talk to them about food and they notice that what you're saying is going to affect what they're eating, they will they become very angry.
It's because people learn how to eat from their mommies and daddies as babies.
Right.
And somehow when you tell them that what mom and dad fed you was wrong, they take that very personally. And, you know, I don't quite understand why. My parents fed me the wrong food. I forgive them. They didn't know. I don't take it personally that my parents made a mistake. You know, so but for a lot of people, it's like insulting their family, insulting their culture, insulting their way of living when you just tell them this is science. You're making a mistake. You're contributing to your own obesity and diabetes and autoimmune conditions and sometimes cancer and heart disease. And they don't want to follow the science.
Well, a lot of it is also the addiction that these foods produce. So you have addiction, and then you have the problem, I guess, or the challenge that there is a learning curve, and they're going to have to learn how to eat in a different way. And so they have two things there to overcome, and you really have to want to do it. And the other thing I've learned is that we human beings learn through pain. Until we feel pain, because that's what I see. Someone has to have a heart attack, someone has to have cancer, someone has to have had a stroke, and then they're more willing to listen. Yeah. I had to feel like I was about to die also to do it. And so it's now,
Gustavo, you have a book coming up in the not too distant future. What can you tell us about that book and your co-author?
Well, yes, that book it's very dear, I guess, because first of all, it's written with a very good friend of mine, Shada. Of ours, that's right. And it's Shada Soleimani, and she's just a lovely lady, and she also has a powerful story of having lost, I think, close to 120 pounds and keeping those pounds off, and coming from another culture also. So this book tells the story of two people who were not born in the United States. We're both citizens, we're both Americans and love the US and owe so much to it. So, but it's a book that tells the stories of how two people who came from different countries, really different countries, and different cultures and different foods, when they migrated to the United States at a young age, they eventually became obese. And then how we transformed the foods that we loved from the US to plant-based, and also the foods from our own countries to whole food plant-based. So it's an international cookbook storytelling.
It's a one-of-a-kind book.
It is,
And
I think.
It will be out before the end of the year. So everybody should look for that. And I'm sure there'll be information on your website at that time and on Shada's website. Healthycooking.com is Healthy Cooking with Shada.
Yeah, healthycookingwithshada.com, and mine is Plantemus, and that comes from plant and music. That's why it's called Plantemus, because those are my.
I thought it was emus. I thought
Well,
you're planting emus.
No, Plantemus I think that in Latin, Plantemus means let's plant, like plant stuff.
Okay.
But also because I co-funded that with Dr. Diego Ponyman, who is a medical doctor in New York. And so we do this together. So that's why we called it that way. Plants for medicine, and that's his passion and my passion. And then E, the letter E, sounds like and in Spanish. And MUS is for music, because many times I do cooking shows in which I also play the piano. So it's a combination of music and.
Well, it's the perfect name for the website. Now, tell us also about your online book club that's you're going to be doing again soon.
Well, this was a very popular book club that I started during the pandemic when we were all locked in our houses, and I thought I was going to lose my mind. And so one of the things that I did to stay sane was I thought, well, why not do a book club? But instead of meeting in somebody's house or in a coffee shop, we'll just meet online, and we will read every month a different book. So people would get the book, and then I would tell them what chapters to read each session, and then we would discuss it and comment. I would have a guest. Sometimes I would make a recipe from that book. And so I did so many books, and they're all in my YouTube channel, so people can actually go and see the book clubs. There is a playlist called Book Clubs. And then after the pandemic, we all started getting busy and being able to get out and travel and stuff. And so I stopped it. I started doing my 7-day detox and reset program. But I constantly have requests for this to come back. So it's coming back.
All right. And what's the next book that you will be discussing in the online book club?
Well, this first book for the relaunching is Anne and Jane Esselstyn's book, Be a Plant-Based
Plant-Based Warrior? Is that what it's called?
Woman Warrior.
Woman Warrior.
But I'm saying, hey, it's not just for women. So guys, men, you can also join. It's a wonderful book with strategies and ideas of how to be, a whole food plant-based person. And then it has lovely recipes, and I will demonstrate some of them in each session.
And I don't imagine after that, which book you're going to be doing after that book, do you?
Yes.
Oh, you do. You do? You know which book?
I plan ahead of time.
Wow. Yes. What book might that be?
Well, there is this writer that is really good. I've read several books already by him. It's called Glenn Mercer. And the book is America Goes Vegan.
America Goes Vegan. So that would be this book right here?
Oh my goodness, you already have it.
I read it. I just read it last night.
Well, I read it and I could not put it, down. It's amazing. And I will also demonstrate some of the recipes.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. Yeah, the recipes are by Tracy Childs.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that you like the book, Gustavo, because otherwise I wouldn't air this podcast.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Well, actually, I have to say that I didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't like it.
I didn't like it. I loved it.
You loved it. All right. Well, that's okay then.
Okay.
That's okay then. I got nervous for a minute there, but that's okay.
So make sure everybody who wants to be in the book club, to either go to my website and sign up for my email list. I don't send emails all the time, so you're not gonna have your email box flooded by emails. Or you can go to the Facebook page, because there's a link there for the book club.
Okay, so let's recap where people can find you. There is plantamus.com, which is plantemus.com, as I like to think of it.
Yeah.
There is your Facebook page, which is Dr. spelled out Starch. There is your YouTube show, which is just, they look up Gustavo Tolosa, right?
Yeah, it's either my YouTube channel can be found with my name or also under Plantamus.
Okay. And then you've got a 7-day detox program, which people can find at your website.
That's right. That's right. And I also have an Instagram under Plantamus.
All right. Well, that's about all the ways that you can be found, unless you're in Argentina. Look for a guy looking for sea ice.
Yes.
And you'll find them.
Okay.
Gustavo, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you.
We all look forward to your book, and we will see you soon. Thank you all for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. This has been the Glenn Mercer Show, where everyone listening turns vegan, regains their health, and annoys their friends and relatives. Find us on YouTube at The Glenn Mercer Show and across all your major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.